How Ukraine was forced to join the USSR. What makes Ukraine such a global flashpoint? Ukraine has often long played a critical, neglected role in the global security order. Today, the country is at the forefront of a revived great power struggle, which many observers will believe will dominate international relations in the coming decades. Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022 represented a significant escalation of an 8-year-old conflict between the two countries and a critical turning point in European security. The commencement of World War I and the start of the hostilities between Russia and Austria-Hungary on August 1st of 1914 had direct ramifications for both belligerent states as Ukrainian nationals. Ukrainian publications and cultural groups were directly suppressed through the Russian Empire, and notable personalities were jailed or banished. As Russian forces moved into Galicia in September, thousands of Austrians were shot for supposed pro-Russian sentiments. Following Galicia's occupation, Tsarist officials attempted to integrate it fully into the Russian Empire. They outlawed the Ukrainian language, shut down institutions, and planned to demolish the Greek Catholic Church. The Austrian reconquest in the spring of 1915 ended the Russification campaign. On the other hand, Western Ukraine remained a theatre of military operations and suffered greatly. The Russian Revolution of February 1917 installed the provisional government, which immediately established freedom of expression and assembly and repelled Tsarist restrictions on minorities. The resurrection of a Ukrainian press and the development of various artistic and professional organizations and political parties accelerated national life in Ukraine. On the initiative of these new organizations, the Central Rada was established in Kiev in March as a Ukrainian representative body. In April, the All-Ukrainian National Congress declared the Central Rada the highest national authority in Ukraine, and the historian Mikhailo Hrushevsky was elected its head. The Central Rada's stated goal was geographical autonomy for Ukraine, as well as the transition of Russia into a democratic, federative republic. Despite the provisional government's recognition of Ukraine's right to independence and the Central Rada as a legitimate representative body, questions about the Central Rada's territorial jurisdiction and political prerogatives remained unresolved. Locally, particularly in Russified cities of eastern Ukraine, the Rada had to fight with the more revolutionary Soviet of workers' and soldiers' delegates, whose popularity among the Ukrainian people was limited. Following the Bolshevik coup in Petrograd on November 7th of 1917, Ukrainian-Russian relations dramatically deteriorated. The Central Rada refused to recognize the new regime's authority over Ukraine and, on November 20th, declared the establishment of the Ukrainian National Republic while still in federation with the new democratic Russia due to emerging from the upcoming Constituent Assembly. At the first All-Ukrainian Congress of Soviets, convened in Kharkiv in December, the Bolsheviks declared Ukraine a Soviet republic and constituted a rival government. The Bolsheviks began an offensive in the left bank and pushed on Kiev in January of 1918. On January 22nd, the Central Rada, which was already engaged in peace talks with the Central Powers from whom it hoped for military help, declared Ukraine's total independence, and on the same day, it passed legislation establishing national autonomy for Ukraine's Jewish, Russian, and Polish minority. However, as Soviet troops entered Kiev, the administration immediately fled to the right bank. On February 9th, Ukraine and the Central Powers signed the Brest-Litovsk peace treaty. In early March, a German-Austrian attack drove the Bolsheviks from Kiev, and the Rada administration took command. The Red Army withdrew from Ukraine in April. If you've enjoyed so far, please like and subscribe to the channel for more history-related facts. The Ukrainian government's socialist objectives, particularly land nationalization, clashed with the German High Command's need to enhance food production for its war efforts. General Pavlo Skoropadsky overthrew the Rada government on April 29th of 1918 in a German-backed coup. Skoropadsky, a cultural descendant of an 18th century Cossack hetman, seized the title Hetman of Ukraine, repelled all Rada regulations, and formed a conservative rule based on the backing of landowners and the predominantly Russian urban middle class. Ukrainian nationalists, Marxists, and peasants were outraged by the new regime. The main parties and civic organizations created the Ukrainian National Union to organize political resistance, while peasants expressed their animosity through rebellions and partisan warfare. The fall of Germany and Austria in November weakened Skoropadsky's authority, and the Ukrainian National Union established the Directory of the Ukrainian National Republic to prepare for his demise. Skoropadsky announced his intention to form a federation with a future non-Bolshevik Russia to gain the support of the Allies, sparking an uprising. The hetman abdicated on December 14th and the Directory took over for the Kiev government. Even before Austria-Hungary fell apart, a conference of Western Ukrainian political leaders declared the foundation of a state in October of 1918, which was soon renamed the Western Ukrainian National Republic, encompassing Galicia, northern Bukovina, and Transcarpathia. Lviv was seized by Ukrainian forces on November 1st. This move sparked a conflict with the Poles, who were determined to absorb Galicia into a reconstructed Polish state. The Poles took Lviv on November 21st, but most of Galicia remained under Ukrainian control, and the administration, led by Yevhen Petrushevich, transferred its seat to Stanislaviv. The two Ukrainian governments proclaimed an act of union in Kiev on January 22, 1919, but practical political interrogation was hampered by continuous warfare. These eventually went against the Ukrainians, and by late July, the Poles had complete control of Galicia. In Kiev, the Directory that had gained control in December 1918, first led by Volodymyr Vinichenko, and then, beginning in February 1999, by Simon Petliura, who was the commander-in-chief, officially re-established the Ukrainian National Republic and reinstated Central Rada law. The government's authority was minor or non-existent in many places. The Allied countries, especially France, whose expeditionary force seized Odessa, backed the Russian Whites, whose army was massing in southern Russia around General Anton Denikin. Random violence increased in Ukraine as authority crumbled. A particularly vicious wave of pogroms against the Jewish resulted in deaths of tens of thousands. Most of the pogroms took place in 1919 and were carried out by almost all regular and irregular forces fighting in Ukraine, including Directory troops, White forces, and the Red Army, as well as civilians from the peasant and land-owning classes. The first All-Ukraine Congress of Soviets under Bolshevik tutelage founded a Soviet government for Ukraine in December of 1917. The second, in March of 1918, declared Soviet Ukraine independent, and the third, in March of 1919, adopted Soviet Ukraine's first constitution. These efforts, however, were mostly a tactical response to the apparent threat of rising Ukrainian nationalism. With the consolidation of Bolshevik rule, Soviet Ukraine gradually ceded its rights in areas such as foreign relations and foreign trade to Russia. The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or the USSR, was established on December 30th, 1922 as a federation of Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and the Transcaucasian Soviet Federated Socialist Republic, or the SFSR. That concludes today's video. Comment your thoughts down below, and as always, subscribe, hit the bell button, and thank you for watching Just History. We will see you in the next video.